What is up, y'all? And welcome to another Friday. I hope you had a great week and everything. We're going to do this episode or live stream. I shouldn't really call it an episode because, yeah, it's not really episodic, but I guess it is becoming that way, really. But we're going to do this very differently. It's going to be more focused. We're going to have better conversation arising from this and certain ideas. That's another thing. I want this to be focused on specific ideas, and that's what we're going to do. So, without further ado, we're actually just going to go ahead and jump in. And when I do these from now on, I'm probably going to start out in a more functional way. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey guys, what's up? Blah. Even though I know some of y'all probably like the more conversational way of me doing that, but hold on. Oh, okay, yeah. Get rid of that. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to continue doing the whole conversational type of way I've been doing it because it's just too unfocused for me, and you know, don't want to get silly emotions wrapped up into this, and I definitely don't want to convey the wrong messages or ideas. So from now on, this is how we're doing it, and we're going to start now. As Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20 says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I chose this verse, even though it's an Old Testament verse, because it encapsulates perfectly what we're facing today in this world. Really, what we've been facing for generations since the beginning. The powers that be, Yaldabaoth and his ilk, control this world in such a fashion that they twist things for you to not recognize what is good and what is evil. And a lot of times, what people worship or what people put forward as goodness is really a corrupted form of what should be good. And this is what I want to convey in this live stream. I want to display for you the twisting of truth and reality in this world. One of the ways that the archons do this is that they play on our emotions. They utilize our emotions and they feed off of it. Something like what a lot of people call loosh. This idea of loosh is meant to represent an energy that comes from us whenever we're in a hypersensitive state. And that can be all the way from complete joy and ecstatic excitement all the way to world ending rage. These archons do this not only to feed themselves, but because Yaldabaoth himself created the world because he loves. And really that's the crux of the matter, is that this world, the physical world, is built on a corrupt version of love. But humans tend to rise to the occasion a lot of times. Humans can surprise us, our fellow man. And that's how you know that there is a true God beyond this world, that there is a light that extends beyond the darkness of this place. That whenever we come out of our bestial nature, we end up expressing something that is almost unfathomable. Think about a time when you could have been extremely selfish, or a time where you could have taken advantage of a specific situation to prop yourself up in any way. But then you overcame that urge. You overcame that greed and that pride. That is something that is truly holy. This is the true meaning of goodness, what it means to be righteous. That when we're faced with evil, when we're faced with the darkness that resides within ourselves, we don't let that darkness overcome us. We don't let that evil come out. Rather, we let the good come out. We let the light come out. We do the opposite of these things. Or maybe we don't do anything at all. But right there is the idea of complacency. If you're in a situation where something is, you know, where the darkness does want to come out and you do want to take advantage and things like that, and you just don't do anything, and you see that there is a potential for other people to take advantage, doing nothing is complacency. Doing nothing can mean the opposite of doing good, really. But sometimes doing nothing is the best way to go. Thinking about politics right now and what's going on in the MAGA movement, I can't help but to think of the one big beautiful bill. Whatever you may think of Trump, he really, really wants this bill passed. And the crux of the matter is that the bill is terrible. Omnibus bills have always been terrible. Ever since this movement started, ever since we all started voting for Trump in 2015, well, since we started following his campaign in 2015 and then voted for him in 2016, a lot of us, many of us, almost all of us, have always talked about the omnibus bills. Yet, somehow, this one big beautiful bill is completely different. When in reality, it's not. Trump is trying so hard to push this idea that there are good things for us in there, that there's, there's these like child credits of, to have like a MAGA baby savings account. When in reality, that account does really nothing. It really absolutely does nothing. And they're giving it to people that have like almost no children. The population of children is dwindling. And creating these baby MAGA accounts will do nothing, absolutely nothing, to rebuild the population here in America, especially the key population that has built up America, that has created the things that America was founded on. From the ideas, the philosophies, to the very buildings, to the machinery that was built here. These things cannot be replaced. There is a certain spirit that sits with a people. And if you replace that demographic, that place will not be what it was before. It will not be America. If you replace the demographic of Spaniards in Spain, it will not be Spain anymore. Same in Germany, same in Italy, same in Uganda, same in any country you could possibly name. that has deep culture. And the issue becomes is that these emotions and these ideas and these thoughts are played against us. Our own feeling of survival is used against us in such a way that sometimes we betray ourselves. And that's when the darkness comes over us. But we don't have to let that nature through. We can let a goodness come through. And let's go to our first clip that I want to show you. It's from The Dark Knight, a 2008 film. But I think it highlights perfectly what I'm speaking about here. Of course, I'm using this for educational purposes. So therefore, I do not claim any rights to this, only for the fact of the matter that I'm using it educationally.
Sir, they've stopped their engines.
Right, get on the radio. Tell them we'll come back and pick them up once we dump the scumbags.
Liberty, this is Spirit. Come in.
What the heck is that?
Liberty, come in, please. This is Spirit. Come in.
Fox, there's something going on the ferries.
Get down to the engine room now.
Hey, buddy, what's happening?
Captain, got 100 barrels down there rigged to blow. In this.
Oh my God.
Looks like some kind of detonator.
Why would they give us the detonator to our own bomb?
Tonight, you're all going to be a part of a social experiment. Through the magic of diesel fuel and ammonium nitrate, I'm ready right now to blow you all sky high.
Liberty, come in, over. It's dead.
If anyone attempts to get off their boat, you all die.
I'm zeroing in.
Each of you has a remote to blow up the other boat.
Force is on the ferry, but it's not the source. West. Gordon.
I have the Joker's location. Pruitt Building. Assemble on the building opposite.
At midnight, I blow you all up. If, however, one of you presses the button, I'll let that boat live. So, who's it gonna be? Harvey Dent's most wanted scumbag collection, or the sweet and innocent civilians? You choose.
So right there, we see that you have two groups of people in this movie. One group of people on one ferry are recognized as the worst of the worst type of people. You know, they're prisoners that probably have, you know, hijacked cars, hijacked, I don't know, maybe even planes, robbed people's houses, stabbed people, you know, hurt people, murdered people in some way, or, you know, even did some form of grape, if you know what I mean. And then you have the other group of people, the people in the other ferry, And these people are recognized as normal, everyday citizens, people who just go about their day by day to work, go to school, teach, whatever it is they may do. And they're both given this choice. Will one group blow up the other? And it's utilizing that feeling of survival. And the thing is that these groups of people know that one group are just normal everyday people and the other group are prisoners. They are in full knowledge of this. So there's an even greater sense of tension. Will the criminals blow us up? Or even the criminals themselves thinking, will the normal people blow us up because, they know we're no good criminals? This is a perfect example of how the Archons and Yaldabaoth manipulate us, placing labels on us, creating this sense of urgency that's sometimes completely unnecessary. But let's look further. Let's see how they choose. And of course, if you've seen this movie, you know how. But, for those who haven't, which I highly doubt you haven't, but, we'll continue.
Oh, and you might want to decide quickly because the people on the other boat may not be quite so noble.
Stay back.
Well, now, who are you to decide? We ought to talk this over at least.
We don't all have to die. Those men had their chance.
We are not going to talk about this.
Why aren't we talking about it?
They're talking over the same exact thing on the other boat.
Let's put it to a vote.
Hello, Barbara. It's Anna Ramirez.
Jim needs you to pack up and put the kids in the car right away.
But the unit's outside. Those cops can't be trusted.
Jim needs you away from them as soon as possible. I'll call them off for 10 minutes, and you'll have to move fast.
But where am I supposed to take them?
250 52nd Street.
Leave as soon as the patrol car pulls out.
Okay.
She didn't believe you. It's because she trusts you. Just like Rachel did.
I didn't
You
know
didn't know
what
what they were gonna do? You're the second cop to say that to me. What exactly did you think they were gonna do?
They got me early on. My mother's hospital bills. And
Don't!
I'm sorry.
You live to fight another day, officer.
We found the missing hospital bus.
Then we have a hostage situation. It's a shooting gallery. Why would he choose a spot with such big windows?
We have clear shots on 5 clowns. Snipers take them out, smash the windows, a team repels in. Team moves in by the stairwells, 2-3 casualties max.
Let's do it.
It's not that simple. With a Joker, it never is.
What's simple is that every second we don't take him, those people on the ferries get closer to blowing each other up.
Won't happen.
Then he'll blow.
I just want to point out, this is a really good example of what's going on with this bill. You have, this guy who represents the establishment, and he's saying, we got to act now. We got to try to take out Joker and things of that nature. This is the same as Trump. We got to get this bill out and things like that. Whenever in reality, the bill is going to do more harm. And Batman, and I'm not going to connect any certain person with Batman, okay? Yeah, I'm not even going to say who I could, but, Batman represents all of us who are against this bill. These things matter. And the thing is that this is not even this is only surface level evil. You know what I mean? The basic stupid games of politics. This is only the beginning of evil. But it's how evil can take root. Things in that bill are not good. And there's other examples like this in our life where situations like this happen, where there's one group that's like, you got to do it. It's urgent. Do it right now. And then you have the other side that's like, you know what? Wait it out. Maybe don't even do anything. You know, consider your options and try to take the wisest route. You'll see that sometimes it's just better not to do the thing.
Blow both of them up. We don't have time for
I want everybody to put their votes on this piece of paper. If anyone's got pens, pass it along. We need to get these votes in quickly. Come on.
Didn't expect that clip to end so soon. But basically what ends up happening is no one chooses any of them. And they end up being completely fine. That's exactly how our life is, and that's exactly how this bill is. We cannot continue with the bill. The bill must be dismantled. We cannot continue to choose evil and expect goodness. If they would have blown up one of them, they both would have blown up. This is the same incident that we're facing now with this bill. Choosing to do something evil, taking up this bill, allowing AI to do whatever it wants to for 10 years, giving these bullshit fake ass I did not want to cuss, but there I go. Putting in these erroneous bill that is full of things like tax cuts that just aren't true. It's, first of all, a lot of them are a continuation of what's been. And even so, there's tax cuts like on tips. This is a lie too, because the fact of the matter is that not many people would be able to take advantage of it at all. Once you reach a certain threshold, your tips are taxed again. And that's just wrong. And what's really messed up about it too is that the threshold in which your taxation begins again on your tips is like quite low for someone who gains tips. You have to imagine a lot of these people that already get tips. This is probably where most of their money comes from, as waitresses and things of that nature are usually paid lower than minimum wage because they're given tips. And so if you have someone that's making like, let's say someone's making like $30,000 a year, okay? And only like 15,000 of that comes from the actual pay, or 20,000 comes from the actual pay. That means over 10,000 is already coming from your tips. And then that'll be taxed. So it's stupid games like that that causes the world to be what it is today. That continues to allow the darkness. As Gnostics, we're supposed to transmute this world with the changing of ourselves. And a part of that is being a part of politics, getting into politics, having your word heard by others, arguing with people, debating, things of that nature. Without this crucial step the transmutation of this world and the transmutation of Yaldabaoth will be almost nothing. And, you know, this happens too in so many different ways. Of course, this happens in metaphysical way where, you know, our light shines into people and things like that. Our prayers, you know, push the light through, our ritual work and things like that. But then we also have the idea of like you might become a scientist, and then you have a eureka moment and you discover something. That is the light coming through. That's the part of the progress of gnosis. You may understand a new philosophy. You might be a teacher and you might say just the right thing to a child that they need to hear. Things like that are what transmute the world. But when we have things like this, it gets murky. And also, like I said, it doesn't stop there. Yaldabaoth and the Archons will use our most vulnerable and our most innocent to not only trick us, but to trick them so that they grow up with these ideas that are completely wrong and false. And we're about to get into a subject here that might be rough for some. And I understand if this next part might make you angry. But these things have to be pointed out and said. And I'm only doing this from a righteous nature. I'm not trying to do this to be mean. And I promise that I will try as best as I can to explain why I understand things the way I do in this manner. And the next concept I want to take on is the transitioning of children. First, let's go over this story. It's from them.com. I'm pretty sure that them is a publication for leftists, but I wanted to basically show this news from their perspective and explain what's going on here. Why is there such a disconnect? Okay. So it says here, a Florida high school teacher lost her job for referring to a trans student by his name. I'm not sure if his name is a her or whatever, but let's continue. It says Melissa Calhoun's contract was renewed after the student's parent accused the school of grooming her child. A Florida teacher has lost her job for referring to a 17-year-old transgender high school student by his preferred name. Following an investigation prompted by the student's parent, who accused the school of grooming her child. Melissa Calhoun is an advanced placement English teacher who previously taught at Satellite High School in Brevard County, Florida, for approximately 12 years. According to reporting by Florida Today, but in March, Calhoun's classroom conduct became the subject of district investigation after a local parent contacted administrators to accuse Calhoun and several other teachers of grooming her child to be trans and gay. And this is where we start getting into the subject matter. First of all, and I have to say it plainly, children are not transgendered. Really, no one is transgendered. And I have a very specific reason as to why I say that. But let me continue on with the story, and then I'll tell you why. The parents' complaints, as well as Brevard Superintendent Mark Rendell's decision not to renew Calhoun's contract, are detailed in a 128-page report obtained through a public records request by Florida Today, a copy of which was also reviewed by them. The report notes that the student argued with his parent in March regarding his desire to transition and use he, him pronouns. Oh, okay, so it's actually a her. I get it now. That's why I kept reading this slowly and like was confused because I couldn't figure out if they were trying to represent the child as they are or as, you know, what they want to be. Though the report itself misgenders him, we refer to the anonymous student with he, him pronouns in this article for clarity. Yeah, see? Before I go any further, let me just continue with my thoughts on what I'm trying to express. There is no such thing as a transgendered person because, one, our species cannot change gender. Period. And I say this because a lot of people who are part of the LGBTQ community, and by the way, I am homosexual myself, so it's not like, and you know, and I'm definitely not equating these things, okay? You're definitely not, I mean, yeah, most likely if you're transgendered, you're probably gay. But gay people should not associate themselves with the transgendered because there's something totally different going on. But let me continue. So firstly, our species cannot change sex. And secondly, there's no such thing as gender. The idea of gender is literally made up. It's an idea. It's a false idea. What we really have is a sex. And our sex is that which our genitals represent. It's a biological factor. It is a thing. And as a Gnostic, this is how I understand it. Our bodies were made by a corrupt creature, a demiurge, a false god, a demon of darkness. And you might ask yourself, well, if my body is made from a corrupt thing, from a corrupt being, is it such that I could be a different gender because that's what my soul expresses it as? Well, no. No, that's not how it works. When we come to this world, when we're born here in this physical world and with our physical nature, we are meant to come into the realization that we need to transcend our material limitations. And again, you might be asking yourself, oh, okay, so we transcend physical limitations. Why can't I do this? Well, as a Gnostic, when we talk about transcending physical limitations, we're talking about the idea of mind over matter. We're talking about the idea of aligning ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, so that we connect with the alignment of the pleroma. Our bodies are corrupt. No body is perfect. Literal body, no body is perfect. And yes, some people might be born with, you know, some kind of sexual malfunction where they might present as a female, but have, the chromosomes to be a male, or vice versa, or some kind of mixture of both. Yes, those things happen, but it is such a rarity that it would be ridiculous to normalize these things, because it's not. It's an abnormal thing. And really, those people, they have a certain walk to go through. They have a certain struggle to go through. All of us have a specific struggle that we must overcome. And this idea of transgenderism, this idea of that because you feel a certain way, or that you feel that you're trapped in another body that you shouldn't be in, is just another thing to overcome. Like I said, you have to align mind, body, and spirit. You came into this body to experience it as it is, whether that is as a female, whether that is as a male, or, as I highlighted before, some kind of sexual malfunction. This might sound harsh, but that is just the reality of things. And reality can be cruel. But if you do not have a sexual malfunction like this, as I expressed before, then there really is no cruelty involved. At some point, we have to realize that if we're having these feelings and we cannot overcome these feelings, then there is something wrong with the mind, because the perception of your spirit and your body is broken. There is a broken link between these things. And that's why in the DSM, transgenderism is highlighted as a mental illness, as gender dysphoria. At this point, if you have these kind of feelings, you have to realize, if you don't accept you for who you are, then you will have to suffer the consequences of trying to change that part of yourself. And you see this in data where children are given puberty blockers and they can never procreate ever again, even whenever they try to detransition. You see people go through permanent surgeries that they can't reverse and later end up regretting it completely. And even still, most people who go through these transitions are still utterly depressed, are still utterly hopeless, and are still riddled with several different kinds of mental illness. If transitioning were to heal you, then why is there still these problems that keep cropping up? The light of God that shines through us, the light of God that comes upon us, is healing. And I am someone that can definitely attest to this. I used to have severe PTSD. I would have nightmares and all kinds of things, flashbacks and things of that nature. But whenever I started accepting who I was completely, whenever I started, realizing what it meant to be an expression of myself and to find out who I really was, it all clicked. it was a profound moment for me. The presence of God revealed itself in a whole new way. And that is something that we all must come to. Whatever our issue may be, whatever the problem may be, whether it's this transgenderism idea or something else, it's something to overcome. The mind must be overcome. The ego must be overcome. The beast body must be overcome and all of its desires. This is the only way. This is the way to happiness. To be in true serenity. And then there's another factor to this. And I'm not going to continue with this because, like, first of all, I want to say that that teacher deserved to be taken out of her position. The parent does not want to continue with the delusions of the child. And the fact that the teacher continued with that, especially in the state of Florida, where they have laws about this. That's another thing. The obfuscation, and although, law, just because something is legal doesn't mean it's moral. But sometimes there's morality in the law. And especially in this situation, this law was codified for a moral reason. Children cannot dictate what they are sexually at all. Children cannot consent. And that goes even to this point. And transgenderism, especially because children do not have the reference to know whether or not they're going to want to procreate in the future. Like I said, there is data out there that shows children after hitting puberty, or maybe even years after, they have a high desistance rate. That means that they want to be the gender that they were born as, and not the false idea that they thought they were. And that is just the truth of the matter. This idea is something that is being pushed in all of the schools. Literally all schools. And, of course, in the most conservative schools, it's not all teachers, and it's not like something that the district is pushing. But you have the teachers that push this. But where does this come from? Like, where does this twisting of innocence come from? Well, it comes from pop culture. They try to desensitize you to the idea that children can be are perfectly innocent, and that they can't choose for themselves. And this might sound ridiculous to some, but it comes from like movies like Children of the Corn and Pet Cemetery and things of that nature. And if you don't know what Children of the Corn is, I have another clip. Hold on, let me rewind real quick. I want y'all to see, and like this is another thing that they will try to do. They will take like, sacred verse and stuff like that and wrap it up into these ideas to further entrench it into your mind and mess with your soul's ability to discern. Of course, it's Stephen King.
The next town is Gatlin. It's about 10 miles. Stoplight's dead.
Something's happened in this town.
There's something wrong here. I can feel it. Felt like somebody was watching me.
Maybe someone was.
We gotta get out of here!
Time of judgment is now at hand.
What do you want?
Come to give you peace.
So yeah, these pop culture ideas that come out of Hollywood and stuff, they're really meant to program you. They really are. And this couldn't be any clearer. And the reason why I pointed out that this was written by Stephen King originally is because the left has a tendency to do this. Excuse me, I'm sorry. To do this kind of evil. This evil of twisting innocence, twisting children, utilizing the ignorance of children against them. That's why you see so many young people that are, full-on Democrats until they learn about the evils and their injustice. I fell victim of that. And I know so many people have fell victim of that. It literally is almost the natural order of things, especially in the country of the United States. And here's the idea I'm trying to express as well. From Romans chapter 1, verse 25. Because they exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. In this instance, whenever this verse speaks of a creature, it's talking about the creature body, the beast body. That's why I always call the body the beast body, because it is a creature. It is something that is made where our soul, our spirit, where true discernment comes from, is unmade. It's something pure, but it's wrapped up in this thing that has desires and wants. And the biggest thing too that I want to highlight is that this idea of they exchanged the truth about God for a lie. That's basically what has gone on forever now. Is that you have a group of people that cannot accept reality for what it is. That they cannot accept the truth. So therefore, they want their version of the truth to be reality. And because reality rubs up against false ideas, they have to try and eliminate the truth in every which way possible. And the reason why I'm highlighting the left now, after I talk so much about Trump and the GOP and this one big beautiful bill, is to highlight a fact of the matter that this is not a political thing. It might start in politics. It might start in government. That's how, these laws are created and things like that. But in reality, it's a cultural thing. And that's another reason why I wanted to highlight this part about the truth about God. A people who are not unified in their idea about who God is or what their religion is, then you have all kinds of problems that come from that. Problems that our founding fathers could never dream of, I'm guessing. And the kind of horrors that we're facing now. We have such a divided nation. And it's not just because of our political ideas, but it's the fact that these political ideas stem from our perception of reality, our perception of God, our perception of the world. And that all stems from our understanding of God and the cosmic reality of things. Here, we have another idea that the left tries to push. That, boys can become girls and then be in sports as if it's something fair, when in reality, boys will always have their muscles built in such a way that they will always outperform the biological females. It's something that always happens and you can't avoid it. And there's laws that are trying to mitigate these things, but you have jurisdictions that, obfuscate responsibility by pushing the law in such a way that it avoids federal responsibility. And not federal responsibility like as in, it means that the federal government, says, well, it's, not our fault. Well, you know what? Actually, I will say that, because that's what ends up happening a lot of time. They're like, well, we can't do much because, the state has these laws or the city has these laws. But it's really all just an obfuscation of responsibility. And that's another reason why I'm doing things as I'm doing now, because a lot of times I tend to fixate on politics. And really only because it's low hanging fruit. It's easier to talk about. But to talk about the culture and to reveal the spiritual truth behind it is a little bit harder. As you can probably tell, I'm having slight issues conveying completely. But that's one, it's because this is a new way of me doing these things. But two, it's because these things are meant to be hard to talk about. These things are made in such a way that it's easy to put it away, don't think about it, and I'm just going to take care of my family and do my thing. But the issue is that when we do that, these things happen. Boys take over female spaces. Girls try to convince other girls to date them. Out of guilt, mind you. I'm still a man. Why can't you date me? You hear that type of thing a lot. And again, I'm not saying this as a mean thing. Again, these are things that we must overcome. The beast body must be overcome. You must take your ego, you must take your mind and tie it to a tree. You must control these things, or they will control you. And here is probably one of the most egregious things that is coming out of all of this. Now, I wanted to highlight it with the Drag Queen Story Hour, but I feel like that's just too easy, and I feel like that's like easily like brushed off. People just see like a man that pretty much looks like a clown reading to kids in a library. Okay, that's almost easy to say, okay, whatever, to, you know, especially the way I explain it. You know what I mean? And even still, that confuses children. But you can't really highlight it that well without showing you in this way that I'm about to show you now.
So there are so many things that I want to say about this video. I don't even know where to begin. But I think the thing that most disturbed me about this is the little boy that's sitting on what appears to be his dad's shoulders, handed the drag queen money, like a stripper. And that's what he did. And the father was okay with this. I just gave you something to think about. Amen, I say to you.
That is the fact of the matter. That is the crux of the matter. That is the meat and potatoes of all of this. Is that this is a sexual deviance. Look again how this. Look how he is dressed in a feminine form, highly sexualized. Clothes way close to the crotch area, exposing way too much, even though it's fake and everything. But the thing is that for a child, when they see these things, it leaves an impression. And it's not a good impression at all. It disturbs the child's sense of reality. And they know this. The people that do these things know this. They say we want to do this because we want to desensitize children to it, from it. That we want to normalize these things. That we want the child to be more comfortable with this. And as I shown before, it doesn't stop there. Not to just normalization, not to just make them comfortable, but to eventually get them to transition themselves when they're in a place that's vulnerable, when they're in an emotionally vulnerable place. And like I said from the beginning, that's how the archons get you. That's how Yaldabaoth gets you. Is when you're in these vulnerable places that these spirits, these entities try to create a sense of urgency inside of you. And it's your choice to divorce yourself from thinking that's true, that's reality. But the issue becomes for a child that if they're raised in this, if they're made to believe this without not knowing anything else, and then they grow all the way to adulthood, and then they're fully entrenched in it, and then they're even participating in it in some way, then that child has truly become corrupted. That they're not only a corrupted child now, but they're a corrupted adult who will corrupt a child eventually, some way, somehow. Whether it's through these drag performances, teaching them sex ed outside of biological reproduction. And again, let me highlight for you that I am homosexual. Okay? I am a gay man. This ring right here is because I've married to a man. However you may feel about that. Like, my point here is not to express my sexuality and to force it upon you. But what I'm trying to highlight here is that even though I am a homosexual, I am not a deviant. At least not in the sense of something like this. Like, a child should be able to grow up and figure themselves out. A child should not be pushed to deviate from their modus operandi, from their mode of operation. This is the most evil and egregious thing to come out of this. And you know what? Actually, like, I have to eat my own words, because this isn't even the most evil part of it. It can get way worse and way darker. But of course, something like that, I couldn't even express on YouTube. And I'm having this, go out in multiple channels. So I can't express this completely as I want to. Maybe one day I'll have like uncensored section of these type of things. Because what I want to say goes beyond cussing. I know I cussed earlier, and you could probably be thinking like, well, just go ahead for it. No, the fact of the matter is that if I were to fully explain this philosophy, I could potentially be penalized by YouTube. But again, you have to understand is that I'm not doing this from a place of hate. This comes from Sophia. This comes from Logos. This comes from my understanding of God and what's right and holy and righteous in this world. Children are the most pure and innocent thing about humanity. And whenever anyone corrupts a child in such a way, they have released upon this earth that is such a great evil that it's heart-wrenching for me to even try to express it. So let's go to our final thought. This comes from the Pistis Sophia. Verse 5, chapter 32, and then all the way to verse 8. Now therefore, O light of truth, thou knowest that I have done this in my innocence, thinking that the lion-faced light power belonged to thee, and the sin which I have done is open before thee. Suffer me no more lack, O Lord, for I have had faith in thy light from the beginning. O Lord, O light of the powers, suffer me no more to lack my light. For because of thy inducement and for the sake of thy light, I am fallen into this oppression, and shame hath covered me. And because of the illusion of thy light, I am become a stranger to my brethren and the invisibles, and to the great emanations of Barbelo. This I wanted to use to express to you right now that you can turn away and you can repent. That the meaning of repentance is to say, I recognize I've done wrong and I never ever want to do that evil again. That I have witnessed the darkness of my own soul because I have given into a false idea of what goodness is. And I turn from that now and I turn towards the true light. That one becomes with the true light, with the emanations, the aeons, with Barbalo, with God on high, the one true God, instead of the false lion face light. That's Yaldabaoth. And that encapsulates it right there in the true spirituality of Gnosticism. That the light can be expressed in such a way that it fools us to sin. We've all come to that point, one way or another. And I said this so many times in so many different ways. But we always have the choice to turn it all around, to decide to be different than what we were. We always have that ability to change our mind, to take control of it. The only thing is that you have to make that choice. Only you can make that choice. God can show you the light. He can show you signs. But it's up to us to do something about it. With that said, I'd like to end with a prayer. O light of lights, O heavenly God, one true God, one who sits in the throne of the Pleroma. We thank you. We have gratitude for you. God, I ask you to placate every archon, every demon, every shadow that tries to take place of the light before us and before the people that are watching now. God, may they see your light so that a true sense of shame comes upon them, that they may turn away from the darkness. And not this unnecessary shame, like when people are called racist, bigots when they're not, and things of that nature. No, true shame, true guilt. That sensation we get when we know we have done wrong and we have sinned. May every person take up this choice of freedom. Take up this choice of light. May we be unburdened from the darkness within us. We know that we're not inherent sinners, God. We know that we are born innocent and pure, and that the righteousness of your love burns in our heart even still today. But we have made sin from our error. We have made sin from our grotesque misunderstanding, from our ignorance of what truly is. God, Send down thy gnosis. Send down the true light of your knowledge of the truth, thy logos, and your wisdom, Sophia. May your grace come upon us like a waterfall to wash away every corruption. May it be so here, and may it be so in the heights of the pleroma, through the light that shines down forth forever and evermore. Amen. I hope y'all have a great rest of the week. And don't forget, this Sunday is service, mass. So, if you feel up to it, come join us. We do it every Sunday, and we have a really nice ceremony. And, I always tell people, have a candle ready and have some bread and wine or juice ready to do the ceremony with us. Again, have a great rest of the week. God bless y'all. And please, any way you can, protect innocence. Any way you can, protect love. If there's any point to this life, it's to do that. Goodbye.